Alright folks, welcome back to the Control Academy. I'm your host Marshall, and I'm here continuing to try to grind out as many videos as I can this week for your entertainment and kind of to prove to myself that I can do it. I'd really appreciate a subscription or a like on the video if you appreciate the content that I'm producing here, because wow, producing more than one video a week it's a lot. It's more than I expected, ironically enough. And this was a pretty interesting week to choose to ramp up the production, because you may have heard that there was a banned and restricted announcement. And so I had plans to talk about a whole bunch of decks. In fact, let me take a second away from the deck of the today and just give you an idea of the sort of selection of decks that I've been looking at recently. And you might get an idea for why suddenly my enthusiasm for the decks I had planned has gone down. You know, see a lot of blue pips here, and they're pretty much, divide by zero. Leaving is a bit of a challenge. On the one hand, it's a little bit less of a problem for me because, as I was saying in my last video, I've been intentionally staying away from Alrund's Epiphany, thinking that it would be banned. It's not particularly great for the format, and honestly, it's just more interesting for me and hopefully for you as a viewer to stick away from it and just try to brew around it and sort of, view the big baddie of the format as a deck building challenge as opposed to something that we need to converge to. And that worked pretty well for me for the most part. But unsurprisingly, Epiphany's getting the ban hammer, and that's going to change up the format in a couple of key ways. I didn't see the divide by zero ban coming. It makes a bit of sense though. Ultimately, Divide by Zero did a whole lot of things, because obviously it's sort of a pseudo counter spell, it's a tempo spell, but that's just looking at what it does to the board. But it's also this toolbox spell that if you looked at what it did to the sideboard, it could be a way to fix your mana, gain a little bit of life. It could be a removal spell. It could be a card advantage spell because it teaches the archaic. It could be a way to close out the game using Mascot Exhibition. The number of decks that I've played in the past 6 months that basically their main win con was using Divide by Zero to eventually grab Mascot Exhibition is a little bit insane. So I don't really think it needed a ban, but I do kind of see how big of a gap it is to fill. And so understanding that the metagame is going to shift pretty dramatically in the next day or two is kind of a lame duck format. I wanted to focus instead on a deck that is going to survive that transition and focus on something that I think is going to actually get a lot stronger after the bans take effect on Thursday. So if I am thinking about this right, you'll probably be seeing this video the day that the bans take effect, but they haven't taken effect the day I'm recording this. So if we think about what's happened in the format, the Epiphany decks are going to go away. We're going to make it a little bit less advantageous to play mono white and mono green, because a lot of the success of those decks has been preying on the Epiphany decks. And so mono white has been so popular, especially in best of one, because it basically eats Epiphany for lunch. And that sort of pedal to the metal run has manifested itself in basically a requirement that your deck always have removal ready, because if you weren't able to counter an Epiphany, you're gonna have to kill a dragon, and if it weren't playing against an Epiphany deck, you need to be able to kill a whole bunch of white weenies or green beaters, and so that was a pretty significant change to the format. I expect mono white to still exist. Losing the Faceless Haven is going to be a bit of a challenge for it, but it will survive. It might sort of open up to the design space, sort of like what I played yesterday with that Naya Humans deck is going to get a bit stronger, because now it's not quite so imperative that every deck be this low to the ground, get underneath Epiphany deck 100% of the time. The decks that get a whole lot better, though, are these mono black, black white, and what I'm going to show you here today is a Mardu deck that I'm very happy with, which previously were extremely powerful, but their basic problem was that they just got their butts handed to them by Alrund's Epiphany decks. I remember when I first posted the Edgar mid-range deck, it was kind of ridiculous that we managed to beat Alrund's Epiphany twice. It was just like the perfect sequencing of removal spells, just where we could get to. But I even admitted, in response to a comment on that video or a Reddit post, that it was just pure luck. The reason that that deck is squarely tier 2 based on where the format is at this particular moment, is that it folds so hard to the Izzet decks. It basically, if it doesn't have an exact right spell to count to remove the answer at the right time, it doesn't do anything. And then the ones that weren't relying on Goldspan Dragon, just, there wasn't really no answer there. But as we see that boogeyman get out of the format, then we're going to see that those low to the ground aggro decks already were really preyed upon by this sort of mid-range control, removal heavy package. And so the stock of this sort of kit is going to go up pretty dramatically. So I'd say go back to the video I have on the Edgar mid-range deck, and that honestly is going to be a really solid prototype for a deck to go off of. Now, the one complaint that I had about that deck, and this is what's going to get us to today's deck, is that it had some problems just kind of dirtling every so often. It was pretty strong. It had a lot of answers, but there were a lot of times where it was playing a little bit too much of sort of sit and see. And so when it got steamrolled, it got steamrolled pretty hard. So I wanted to experiment with the general package of that black-white control-y mid-range removal spell-heavy deck, and sprinkle in some of the red cards that provide us the opportunity for some really aggressive plays, some things we learned from the Olivia deck, and also some ways to get some extra ramp and card draw going on. So you'll see that the low end of the deck is pretty familiar. We've got Eye Twitch, we've got Shambling Ghast, we've got the Deadly Dispute. This is all taken basically, one for one from my Edgar mid-range deck. We're doing a split of Fateful Absence, Infernal Grasp, Vanishing Verse. 2/2/2/2 is probably not the right split in the long run, but not really knowing exactly what the metagame is going to look like for the foreseeable future. I'm kind of hedging here that having a mix of these is probably better. In reality, my suspicion is that going heavy on Vanishing Verse and secondary on Infernal Grasp is probably the right call. At the 2-drop slot, we want to be careful about how heavily we're leaning on white, because we're sort of getting the engine started with black. And so that's the main reason that there aren't 4 Fateful Absence instead of 2 Infernal Grasp. I want to make sure that if we're sitting on a handful of black mana, but we only have a Fateful Absence as a removal, we're not dead in the water. We've got Meathook Massacre. I have been going down to fewer of these recently. In this deck, I still like 2 of them. I think it's fine to cut one of these back if you want an extra copy of one of the high-end threats. In this particular case, we're sacrificing so many creatures that this actually becomes a win con on its own eventually. And so having 2 copies of them there so that we can both see it more often and potentially replace a destroyed one is relevant. And then for our first splash of red, we get Kalain Reclusive Painter. And at bare minimum, Kalain is a 1/2 for 2 that gets us a treasure token. So that's pretty solid. It kind of accomplishes a very similar thing what Shambling Ghast does with Deadly Dispute, in that we get a treasure token that we can sort of churn into that card advantage engine. But additionally, it means that if Kalain's on the board, his second ability, which is that other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each mana from a treasure spent to cast them, that becomes really powerful because this deck, the black-white shell already generated plenty of treasure. This one generates even more. And so the ability to take some of our late game threats and make them come down as just absolute nightmares is non-trivial. It happens enough to make it worthwhile. I've got 3 of them in here just because it's legendary and red is our splash, so I kind of don't want to go too nuts, but I haven't had any trouble casting Kalain when I've wanted to. We've got 4 Path of Peril. This is my favorite Wrath. Again, everyone always messages me somewhere about Blood on the Snow. Play Blood on the Snow if you want to. I love Path of Peril because early game it's great. When you get to 6 mana, it's just as good as Blood on the Snow, except it doesn't, resuscitate a creature. But the sort of anxiety-reducing effect of knowing that I have a 3-mana way to wipe up a bunch of little creatures, that makes me feel really warm and fuzzy, and that's worth something. At 4, I mentioned that we are starting from the shell of the Edgar mid-range deck. So we've got 2 copies of Edgar Charmed Groom here. This is another one where going up to additional copies is perfectly fine. He's a vampire lord, and if he dies, he eventually resuscitates himself, and while you're waiting for him to come back, he's churning out 1/1s. And don't ever forget about the beautiful situation that comes from having 1 dead Edgar in the form of Edgar Markov's Coffin and 1 living Edgar in the form of the Charm Groom on the board at the same time. It becomes a beautiful synergistic engine. And then what's beautiful is that another threat we get to play is Immersturm Predator. And one little upside that I never really think about, because it's almost never relevant, is this is a vampire dragon. And Edgar is a vampire lord, so there's a nice little synergy here. If you happen to get both of them out, then Immersturm Predator hits the board as a 4/4. Immersturm Predator grows quickly enough that it's not really a big deal, but it's a nice little synergy that I didn't really see coming. But this card is really hard to remove, especially if blue decks eventually start becoming a little bit less popular. It's going to be even harder for the metagame to react to it. And if nothing else, a giant flying beat stick that gets bigger and bigger and bigger while hating on the graveyard is not something I'm ever going to be upset about. Adjust the ratios of these as you see fit. I will say that there's still some tuning that can be done in terms of the 4-drop slot for sure, but I've been reasonably happy with this split of it. We've also got 2 Unexpected Windfall in here. This is where you can sort of have a little bit more flex. I like having the ability to create some extra treasures and draw a bunch of cards. It's a pretty strong effect. And I'm never unhappy to see this when I have the red mana on board. And then moving up, we got Lolth. Lolth is just pure value in this deck. She is just able to gum up the board, create triggers or Meathook Massacre, and eventually draw us cards. It's everything we want at the 5-drop spot, and I'm never unhappy to cast a Lolth. Even if she's going to die, she generates some value that is worth the effort. One thing that I want to point out that I never quite noticed until recently is these spiders, despite being just 2/1s, you'll notice that they're eating what appears to be a horse. So while I will question whether the 2/1 stat line is really a accurate representation of this sort of creature, I will say that these spiders are considerably more terrifying than I realized they were when I first started playing Lolth. But our last threat, we've got a 1 of Olivia Crimson Bride. If we're playing black-red, having this big hasty attacker off the top is pretty solid. We can ramp up to it pretty quickly because of all the treasures, and being able to yank one of our other late-game threats out of the graveyard out of nowhere is pretty powerful, especially since both of the things that we bring out are coincidentally vampires. This is a theme that I didn't anticipate when I started putting this deck together, but they are also able to be quite resilient on their own. But even if you're just pulling back one of the lower drops on this, it's a pretty high value card. And so in this particular build, I wouldn't go more than 1 or 2 copies, but I love seeing the 1 copy in here, and it's always nice just being able to come out of nowhere swinging with anywhere from like 3 to 7 damage in the air, and so I love it. Mana base, pretty straightforward. Same combination of things. I went a little bit lighter on creature lands in this version of the deck, just because the mana requirements are a little bit weirder. There's an argument that you could put a few more in, and that's probably fine. But I do have the 1 Hive of the Eye Tyrant. I like the Menace. I like that it hates on the graveyard. I thought about putting in Den of the Bugbear, and I still think that might be right. But this deck likes to try to play around our opponent's board as opposed to just beat through it. And so Hive of the Eye Tyrant does that pretty well. Sideboard is pretty straightforward. We have Eye Twitch, so we do get to tutor things out of it. We got Environmental Sciences to help us fix. We got Reduced to Memory to deal with particularly non-creatures, so things like planeswalkers, enchantments. I've seen Bard class a lot this evening since the ban announcement came up, so I think people are experimenting with that, and so Reduced Memory has been really valuable there. Necrotic Fumes has another way to turn our little creatures into removal, and then Mascot Exhibition, for obvious reasons, and Confront the Past's way to recycle copies of Lolth from our graveyard if we get to that point. And with that, I do think that whether the Mardu version of this deck or the Orzhov version ends up being the stronger one, I think they're all really valid. I'm excited to play this one because it's a lot more aggressive, but just in general, I will say that these black-based mid-rangey control decks, I expect them probably to be considerably more dominant between the bans on Thursday, probably the day you're seeing this video, and the release of Kamigawa. So whether you're watching this video for something to play, or you're watching this video to sort of get a heads up on what to expect, I hope that this ends up being instructive, and so I'll see you in the games. All right, first opponent of the night, die 8, 1-1, 1-1, 8. Good luck, sir. Not liking the lack of critters in this hand, but if they're playing a creature deck, they ain't gonna get to keep a lot of them around. Let's just hope we draw one. Start for the Sanctum and pass. Alright. Well, let's look at them go. Clever Lumimancer. That's interesting. This is not the standard mono white build, but Clarion Spirit. Okay. Next turn, I will be able to Path of Peril away both of them, so I'm going to sit on my Infernal Grasp. Shattered Sanctum, and there you go. Battlefield Raptor. Alright. Gotta say, I did not see that one coming. Alright, let's go put this on black. I really want a red mana. That's what we need. Get down the Meat Hook Massacre now. If they want to deal 1 damage, fine. Let's see what they do. I want to get more value off of these, especially since I'm not really doing a whole lot right now. Ow. Whatever will I do? Draw a red mana, that's what. Alright. Boom. Why did I do that? I could have just cast a Lolth. I'm an idiot. Alright. Well, I got a treasure. That's counts for something, right? I don't know why I didn't just cast Lolth there, Could have accomplished so many things. Yeah, sure. Have fun. Are they... When you cast a spell... Alright, well... That's enough to make me, say no. Yeah, they don't have to choose my Kalain, but... It would have been nice if they did. I would have appreciated it. Have the Eye Tyrant, and then... Now I'll do the correct thing and play my Lolth. I'll poke you for 1 die. 811,118. How do you like it? Haunted Ridge. Let's draw a card. Plains. Might be overextending here, who knows. But we'll see. The way this stands, things aren't going so bad. If this is meant to be a sort of spicy post-ban mono white, I'm not yet impressed. Oh boy, it's Eddie. He's here.
My words are for ambitious.
Alright. Play Edgar. Why is one... Oh, that's right. I can pay with the treasure and get the +1/+1 counter. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. Heck yeah. And that lets me turn on Hive. And let's get in with our Menacey boys. Get rid of Show of Confidence. I don't know if there's any way for them to get any of this back, but probably should be exiling the creatures. But this might be me being just a little overconfident here, I suppose. Lumimancer. Alright. Alright. First win of the night. I really do love those Magecraft creatures, but that was not the best showing for them. GG. Alright, next opponent up. We've got KN0502. Good luck, sir or madam. This is fine. Wish I had a white source, but I think it's fine, especially on the play. Like, we'll hopefully draw a second land. If we could draw Plains off the top, I'd be a happy, happy boy. What you doing over there, opponent? I didn't see if they took a mulligan or not, so I don't know if they're what they're deliberating over. Okay. Uno, dos. See what you got, KN. Plains. Okay. Not totally clear what this is, but let's go ahead and see if they block. It was worth a shot. Hi, Twitch. Blue, white. Alright. Yeah. I need an environmental science. That is decent too. I'll attack. And then we'll meat hook X1. Auto pay. And make a treasure. Not quite the same as land drop, but Well, actually that drew a swamp, but wedding announcement. All right, that's a thing. That's a thing I've got to deal with. Let's do this. Environmental sciences. Get a planes. Play that for turn. I will need to eventually get a... oh, geez. That too. Yikes. I will want to get my Vanishing Versus ASAP. Alright. My turn. Cool. So, either way they get a... So it's going to flip regardless. If they attack with 2 creatures, they draw. Otherwise, they create a 1/1 token. Let's see. How do I want to handle this? We've got 2 Path of Perils. Okay, well, that was kind of a hollow victory. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea how that one was going to go. I don't know why my opponent scooped, but I'll take it. All right, our next opponent, Kahuju. Good luck. All right, we've got removal, we've got card draw that's hard to use. Unfortunately, this hand doesn't actually do a lot, so I'm mulliganing on the play, so that's good. I've seen worse. Keep 6, send Olivia to the bottom, and YOLO. I need a lot for this to realistically be good. But we've got 2 decent threats if we can get to 4 and 5 mana. Alright. Attack. Turn. It's actually pretty good because now I can... It won't be a great Immersturm Predator, but we can Immersturm Predator. So I'll do this. Get a treasure. And we can grab environmental sciences. Get a bunch of options for lands. And then Shattered Sanctum. Seems good. So here... They're going to try to cast Essica's Chariot next turn, aren't they? Which is maybe fine, because we can Path of Peril underneath the Immersturm Predator. I still think that this is the best play. Okay. Alright. Didn't see that particular coming. I guess I'll take that damage. Ulvenwald Oddity. Well, at least I've got an answer for it now, so... play this. Jeez. What do I want to do? I want to environmental sciences. And then do I Kalane? I think I Kalane, so I've got backup for the Predator. Here, I don't know if I need anything particular. I've got double of everything, so let's go ahead and just get another swamp. Then Kalane. Now set up to Lolth next turn as well, so no attacks. And if they want to swing with Ulvenwald Oddity, I'll happily put the Immersturm Predator in front of it and then tap Kalane. If they got a Blizzard Brawl here, then life's rough anyway. Jeez. Okay. That's a thing. Come on. Past the blockers. Block here. Does not matter. I guess I'll block here for funsies. 2 blocks. Then activate. Sacrifice Kalane. At least I'll get to eat one of them. Do I still get the plus? Okay, it does get the +1. There's a second there where if I was thinking if I didn't exile a card, I wouldn't get the +1/+1 counter, but I did read the effect correctly, and it just decided to give me a heart attack. Where our opponent is having loads of fun over there. Yeah, so if I Lolth, I will not have a ton of mana left. If I Unexpected Windfall... Well, if I Lolth, it's going to take them 6 mana. If I Lolth, I can double block with the tokens. Which isn't bad.
I will show you what happens when the spiders squish.
That being said, they can actually flip that non-trivially. So as much as I do want to swing with this Predator, I'm actually going to not. Because if they drop a land, then 5, 6... Oh, actually, yeah. Okay, they can't quite flip it, but I'd rather not find out the hard way that I did my math wrong. All right, my turn. Draw a card, lose life. All right. And now, watch this. So, go to combat. Attack. Yeah, this is fine. So I'm going to exile that from the graveyard, because why not? And then I'll sacrifice a spider. That's fine. And then to damage. And then cleave a Path of Peril. Autopay. Now, if they have the third Ulvenwald oddity, this will be unfortunate. But we just have to hope that the shuffler is not quite so busted.
In exchange for loyalty.
Alright, Ezeka Chariot's still pretty good, but at least we've got answers. Well, she's our girl. She can't do it. Who can? Alright, play that. And that gives us some good options. Draw a card. Vanishing Verse is nice. Yeah. I'm just going to do this now. Minimize the chances of it being any good. We can leave up Deadly Dispert and Infernal Grasp, which I like. The real question is, can I afford to attack here? And I'd like to keep this Lolth on the board if I can, so I'm going to pass. This insulates me against... They didn't activate the old growth troll at the end of my turn. That's cool. I'll take it. Anyway, this insulates me against that. No problem. Come on. Do it. Attack. You know you want to. My turn. I'm going to Deadly Dispute. Kill the Eye Twitch.
Do what I demand.
Then I will... maybe 5 mana. I'm going to grab Reduced to Memory. There's a chance that they have the... I think it doubles all of their attack power in their deck, and I just really don't want to get completely just hosed by that if I can avoid it. Haunted Ridge. Let's make some Spideys.
We will slay.
Do I have anything worth reviving? I guess Kalane's not bad. Yeah, to hell with it. Let's, alright. They scooped it up. The Immersturm Predator is pretty good there. Alright, that's a legit one. Alright, our next opponent. Dante Luis. Ooh, I like that name. We're feeling good. We're feeling excited. Feeling less excited. I mean, this would be incredible to be able to curve into, but we don't even have any red mana, and it's really optimistic, but we're on the play, so guy can dream. Jeez. This is... what am I doing here? Go to 5. Alright, at least this is realistic. Let's keep 5. Throw a Lulf and a Fateful Absence to the bottom. Oh, this is gross. What are you doing to me, deck? Opponents, you know, Dante over here is probably just beside himself with joy. I'll attack. Alright, well, hey, at least we're drawing lands, so that's a thing. Just gotta draw a couple more. 2 red sources in a row. I wouldn't. Jeez, that's not a broken shuffler or anything, right? Deadly Dispute. Get myself Environmental Sciences. Okay, cool. And then we cast a Haunted Ridge. Am I worried about leaving up Vanishing Verse? Yeah, let's not cast Environmental Sciences yet. This gives me some, at least some action in response to whatever they got going on. Like that. That I cannot Vanishing Verse. Gosh darn it. Never mind. Oh, what is my life? Alright, play this on red. Play the Spider Queen. Get some blockers. This art is my least favorite. I think they made this art specifically to... Jeez, 4 Snowfield single. What is the shuffler even doing? But anyway, I feel like they made this art specifically to make people like me buy the upgraded version. Yeah, the backside is still multicolor. Shucks. Let's draw a card. Hey, that's a thing. Let's get ourselves a 2nd white mana. And we've got 6/7 mana. Go to combat. Let's poke him. And then let's draw a card, see what we can get. Hey, that ain't bad. Set on 5 mana. I'm going to leave up Unexpected Windfall and see what happens. I even had the opportunity to keep the well, it wouldn't have helped in this situation. I was gonna say if I had the who's the what's it in my hand, but it doesn't matter. Alright, they're gonna Faceless Haven. And they're thinking, haha, we're gonna kill that Lolth. And what I'm gonna do is this. See if I can get a better answer. Let's discard this, and suddenly I'm flooding with lands. It's not bad, but not good enough. Vanishing Verse, Fell Stinger, Auto Pay. Yep, that's fine enough. And then Zangzadam will block. Yeah, those Faceless Havens are going to be a problem. This deck needs Field of Ruin. Needs them pretty bad. Come on. What 2-mana thing are you debating whether or not you're going to play? Come on, Dante. Come on. Thank you.
I will cull the weak.
Draw a card, lose a life.
Go, my children.
Remember back when I was concerned about hitting my land drops? Those were times. Gonna discard this. Infernal Grasp is good. I like that. And so I can play either Lolth, or I can just run out some of these little buggers. I think I like that a touch better. And I can leave up Infernal Grasp and end the life of one of those Faceless Havens. Seems about as decent as I'm gonna get. Meat Hook Massacre. Yeah, not much I'm gonna be able to do about that, I suppose. Fine. More treasure. Get a whole pile of loyalty.
A gift in exchange for loyalty.
I am going to reduce that coffin to memory. Thanks. Thanks, bro chacho. Come at me. Let's do this. Boom. I will not miss Faceless Haven. Alright. Ooh, I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Get rid of that. I'm sure they've got a backup. Create some blockers and my own Eddie. And then, yeah, I'll sit back for the time being. Kind of like where we're at. It's a precarious position, but even if they kill Lolth, which seems to be their priority, then we're still kind of okay. There's their backup Eddie. Alright. Mine's cooler. Acquisitions expert. Gotta show him one. I will show them. Path of Peril. Don't know if that was right. My biggest point about the Meat Hook Massacre is mostly just to offset the life loss from their copy. Hey, that ain't bad. Draw a card, lose a life.
Oh yes.
Eddie! Right, so I will Meat Hook for 2. Let's see, auto pay. So much for letting me have a frickin' opportunity to Vanishing Verse theirs. That's not ideal.
I will get what I want.
Okay. I don't know what I want to do here. I've got a Field of Ruin, so my creature land's not worth a whole lot. They've almost certainly got Blood on the Snow. Let's pass. I should have just Vanishing Verse before I cast that. I shouldn't have trusted the arena to actually pass me priority when I wanted it to. But, oh well. Resolve. Let's see what they got. Professor Onyx. Okay.
Liliana Vess? Sorry, haven't heard that name before.
Guess I'm glad I didn't give up the Vanishing Verse. They clearly didn't count their mana particularly well.
Subservience will be rewarded. Only a fool strikes a god.
Oh mama. Okay, well, this is happening. I've got 9 mana, so I could really double down on this. I think what I do, instead of playing out both Predators at once, I think I do a Predator. Well, I could do a Predator. Okay, let's do 2 Predators. Yeah, she. And this, I mean, there's a high probability of this going poorly, but yeah, that's fine. Let's see, resolve. Gonna show him the other Edgar. Yeah. The backup Lolth is useful here because I don't know that I'm going to be able to really satisfyingly protect the one that's on the board. So having the backup, because those spiders are going to make these Immersturm Predators very difficult to kill. Very difficult indeed. This has been an insane game. I need them to tap that Field of Ruin. What are they targeting? They're targeting wealth? Yeah, cool.
I am merely
No problem.
delayed, not defeated.
No problem. I'm just over here like, you know, no worries. Let's see, they've got, all right, so, okay, so I've got backup wolf. So here's the thing, is if they got Blood on the Snow, which is undoubtedly in their deck, they're going to be able to get back, okay, never mind. The things that they have the ability to get back are not all that scary, so never mind. I don't care anymore. Lolth. And let's make some baby spiders.
Could have such power. My
Next,
power is for
next.
annihilation.
Attack. We'll exile this. We'll exile this. Get rid of their best things. I'm feeling okay about this. I am. Maybe that's me getting a little bit too overly excited, but a guy can dream. Containment breach. Alright. Destroy artifact or enchantment. Interesting choice. Okay. Alright. Unfortunate.
See, our time is over.
I'm really surprised I didn't go for the coffin. Let's see. What do they choose to do here? Because, like, they don't have any flyers. And I've... like... I think I just... I don't even have to attack with both of them. Am I missing something here? Just attack with one. That's probably fine. Yeah, okay. Cool. I was overthinking it. I'm just like, what am I missing? There we go. Mardu beats Orzhov, apparently.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless. A sea of the aimless. I don't want to.